from Cisco Tech Security Team. Today I'm going to be introducing Smart PCAP. So Smart PCAP is a cloud-based application that was designed to analyze packet captures. It's really intended for network engineers or system admins that want to get a better idea of what's going on in their network. Maybe they're experiencing latency or they're seeing errors on different applications. And so Smart PCAP is really going to help them find the issue quicker so that they can go ahead and proceed with the resolution. Before I continue, let me show you what the graphic user interface looks like. What you're looking at right now is the code, so we're going to get into that a little bit later. Right now I'm just going to start a web server locally on my computer, and then I'll spin up Chrome. We'll go to 127, local port. And so this is what the application looks like. It's very simple. There's not a lot going on. There's a drag and drop box in the middle. You could also click on it and it will give you access to your files locally. I like to do it the drag and drop way. So let me show you what the actual packet capture upload looks like. And also let me make it obvious that if you were to upload anything that's not a .pcap, a .pcapng, or a .cap extension, it's actually going to give you an error. So if you try to upload this Python script, for example, it's going to go ahead and tell you that you need to make sure that the file that you're uploading is a packet capture. And so that's going to make it so that users don't upload anything that they're not supposed to. On that very same note, I just want to throw this out there. All the packet captures that are actually uploaded to the application are analyzed in RAM. And so there's no database. We're actually not storing any of the information. And so that's important for any of the users that will potentially use the application to know. We don't want their information. We don't keep it. But I have a couple packet captures here. I'm going to do this one just because it's very simple. It's a dhcp.pcap. And I'll just drag and drop that over. Make this a little bigger. I don't know if you realized before, but this analyze capture button wasn't there, and so it becomes available as soon as the application realizes that a packet capture was uploaded. And so when you click the button, the scripts are executed and it gives you all the information. Right now, we're supporting a few different protocols. We're supporting DHCP, DNS, ICMP, ARP, SIP, and SNMP. The idea is to start supporting more protocols as the application grows. But just a quick overview, you have a couple of stats up here: TCP, UDP, ICMP, and other. You could see that this packet capture only has 4 UDP packets. And one of the features that I really liked is that, just like in Notepad++, you actually have dynamic highlighting. So if I come here and I copy the transaction ID and I put it on the search bar, what you're going to see is it's automatically going to highlight all the matches. And so this is very helpful if you're working with a really big packet capture where there's a lot of information and you sort of want to get a better idea of what's going on with a few different key points in particular. And you could also use regex. So if you wanted to look for the transaction ID and you also wanted to match on Discover, then you can go ahead and match that and it will highlight it for you. Let me show you what the packet capture looks like in Wireshark. I mean, there's just 4 packets in there. The only difference between Wireshark and Smart PCAP application is that in Wireshark you really have to know what you're looking for, and it's not going to be as easy to find errors. So this is usually used by advanced network engineers to do advanced troubleshooting, and Smart PCAP is a lot simpler. So somebody that's not as accustomed to do troubleshooting on their network can easily use the application and find their way around and even find a few errors that will maybe point them in the right direction. If for any reason the packet capture has protocols that we don't support, then you have an all packets option here that's going to give you the raw data. So if I was to click on that, since there's only 4 packets in the packet capture, it gives me very little information. But if there was more packets in there, it would display all of it. So let me continue with the slides. And the differences between Smart PCAP and the other applications are cost. easy to use. So for example, I showed you the drag and drop highlight of keywords. You can organize it by protocol. Recently we only saw DHCP, but I mentioned a few other protocols in there and it will organize it for you. And it's open source, so I guess the open source and cost go hand in hand. The reason that I put those in there is, let me go back to a web browser, and I don't know if you guys have heard of CloudShark. It's a very popular application. I believe that it's owned by the same people that own Wireshark, but if you go to their pricing tab, you could see that it's very, very expensive to be able to use this application. Not only that, but once you actually get into it, it's a lot like Wireshark. So you have to really know what you're looking for to be able to get your money's worth. And so Smart PCAP uses a lot of open source. There's a lot of open source libraries in there. It's programmed in Python. It's got a little bit of HTML, CSS, and a few other things. But the idea is to keep it open source and to make it publicly accessible to everybody. So that's a huge benefit in itself. Another reason why I think that the Smart PCAP is a good option is because you don't have to install Wireshark. The fact that you need to be a systems administrator, or you have to at least have admin rights over your computer to be able to install Wireshark, makes it difficult for some people, because maybe they're on a computer where they don't have admin rights, or maybe they're just not familiar with Wireshark. So the Smart PCAP is definitely going to give them an advantage there. Again, the open source, free, and simple to find errors and generate reports. Right now, it's functional, but it's not finished. So there's a lot more that we can do to it. I would like to add a couple of graphs to it. So let me show you what I mean. So it'd be great if we can display data in different formats. For example, a pie chart. If you have TCP retransmissions or TCP out of order events, what percentage of the packet capture was traffic that you really don't want, or what are your top 5 top talkers on the network? What are their IPs, or what websites are they browsing? That's all information that we could potentially display in graphs up here. Something else that I want to mention is that the application that I'm showing you right now is running locally on my computer. And this application has a max file size of 50 megs, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going to look at the code real quick. And it's set to 50 megs locally on my computer. And so that's usually what a packet capture weighs more so. It could be 100 megs, or it could be 150 megs, or it could even be gigabytes of data, depending on how long you run the packet capture. But I want to point out that the Smart PCAP is actually available online as an application. So you could actually go to smartpcap.com if you wanted to, and you can test out the application. So it's the same thing. The only difference is that there's a limit on the size of the packet capture that you're going to upload to the application. And the reason for that limit is because the Smart PCAP application that is publicly available runs on AWS. So it's running on Amazon Web Services, and they charge for the CPU and for the memory. And so I had to make the design decision to lower it to 2 megs, because right now it's just for sampling. It's just a prototype, and once we get going and once we figure out where we're actually going to host the application and what resources we're going to have available, the idea is to bump it up to 50 megs or 100 megs, or whatever people find the most useful. So if I grab that same packet capture that I uploaded locally on my computer, you could see it's 24.7 megs, and it's got no issue with that. But if you run it on the application that's available on the internet, and you try to drag and drop a Wireshark file that's too heavy, it's going to tell you that you have a max file size of 2 megs. So that's really one of the things I have to worry about. Besides that, it runs exactly the same. I'm going to grab this test.pcap or this test.cap. We'll upload it. And The reason why it's uploading and then after that you have to hit the analyze capture button is because there's 2 steps to the process. The first step is grabbing the packet capture and actually uploading it to the server so that it can load it in RAM. And the second step is to hit the analyze capture button so that it executes all the scripts and so that it gives you the data that you're looking for. So the packet capture that I ran online is a little bit different from the DHCP packet capture that we did originally. So you can see we have a lot more TCP packets, UDP packets, ICMP packets, and others. And like I said earlier, it's all divided by protocol. So this is all ICMP. So you can see there's a couple of errors there. You have your DHCP messages, you have your DNS, you have DNS failures, and you have SIP messages. So this is something that I thought was really cool, particularly if you only want a special call ID. You can come in here and copy it and then hit the top button that I added here, go to the search bar, paste that in there, and then theoretically when you scroll down it's going to be highlighted for you, so you're going to know what call ID is associated to what SIP message. And again, if I wanted to see all the information in raw, I could just hit all packets, and so you're going to see there's a lot of information there. These packet captures can get very long, so to make it easier I added this top button and it will just take you straight to the top. One of the things that I was thinking about adding was the option to collapse the different sections. So for example, by default, the ICMP section may be collapsed and you can double click on it to open all the information in regards to the ICMP. It's really just a design decision, but it can be changed at any moment. That's more so the GUI on the application, the future of Smart PCAP. Like I said, top talkers, we could have bar graphs or pie charts of TCP retransmission statistics. We can support a lot more protocols. Right now I think we only have 5 or 6, but the idea is to support LDAP and to support SSL and to support HTTP and to support anything you could really think of, and to make it easy to find errors and to troubleshoot. So again, you don't have to be an advanced network engineer that knows how to use Wireshark. You just have to get your hands on a packet capture. If you sniff on your network for long enough and you upload the file, you'll be able to easily find errors, and hopefully those errors will point you in the right direction, and it could save you money, it could save you time. There's a lot of benefits. And eventually it would be nice if you could export reports. So if we do go for the line graphs and the bar graphs and all the data that's displayed easily, it would be nice if we could just export the reports to email or to PDF, because I'm sure you want to share them with your colleagues at work. So that's something that would be in the plans of the Smart PCAP application. Let's go over to, I know I already showed you that the application is currently running in AWS. Again, this is a design decision. It can run on Google Cloud. It can run on in-home. So if we have a data center and we have the servers and the resources, the CPU and the RAM to be able to host the application, we could also bring it in-house. It really depends on where you want to go with the app. And I have the GitHub repository that is currently private, but if I can find people that are willing to contribute to the code, then I can make it public, and that could be done at any moment. I want to show you also the engine that makes Smart PCAP run. It's the SCAPI project library. So SCAPI is an application or code that is designed primarily to generate packets, so it generates traffic on your network, but I was able to use some of it to analyze packet captures. So the only problem with that is if you look at the documentation, they have great documentation, but they don't have all the protocols that I would like to support. And so I really need people that are familiar with Python programming that could help me develop these libraries so that we can make the application a lot more robust, and we could even, share our findings with the SCAPI team so that they can add the protocols that we eventually develop to their application or to their engine. But that's really the one thing that I need help with. So now that we're talking about code, let me show you what the application looks like. This is the main.py application. The backend is designed with Python and Flask. Like I said earlier, there's no database. Everything is ran in memory, and the logic is all done with these scripts here. So it's going to look for every single protocol, and depending on the protocol that it finds, it will go ahead and start looking for errors or start organizing the information in any way you want. Python and Flask is the back end. The front end uses HTML. Flask also uses Jinja for templating. So you're going to see a lot of Jinja in the HTML, and you have your CSS, of course, to make everything look nice, and your JavaScript. So the JavaScript is where the drag and drop box comes in. It's where the error messages come in. If you have a pop-up, any of that stuff is all done with JavaScript. And that's pretty much the application. Right now it's functional. I think that if we were to develop it, and if I was to be able to come up with a team of engineers that are interested in the application and that feel like they could help me develop the protocols in the near future, it could really be something that a lot of people would be interested in using because of all the benefits that I mentioned earlier. And because we can tweak it really. I mean, this is ours to grow. We can include as many protocols or as little protocols as we want. And that's pretty much it. That's Smart PCAP. Thank you very much.